So good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear us all okay and see the slides. And for those of you that don't know me, my name's Ed and I'm Head of Sales over at Pragma.
Hi folks, I'm Andy. I'm the product manager here at Pragma.
So thank you for taking the time to join us. We're going to take you through a new product, Connect for iPECS Cloud. I'm going to show you how to integrate with anything and connect anywhere.
Absolutely.
So Andy, Connect, launched it last week. This is the launch webinar today. What's it all about?
Well, don't want to steal any of your thunder because I know you've got some stuff coming up, but high level, we recognise that in the channel we're being asked more and more for APIs and how do we connect into CRMs, other external products. So working with CoSoft and leveraging the iPECS 1 API, that's how we came about Connect, and it's all about being able to integrate at the desktop into tools that customers might be using in their environment.
So make the system a little bit more interesting and
yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned the iPECS 1 API there, so we should explain about Connect and how it works. So it's built on the foundation of iPECS 1, so it uses the iPECS 1 API from Ericsson LG, and it's been developed on that basis by our development partners CoSoft. So CoSoft are now an Ericsson LG development partner. They have full access to the API for iPECS 1. So it still retains all the benefits you see with iPECS 1, such as WebRTC, having it across 3 devices, for example, that all remains. But it's utilised that API to build a version of iPECS 1 that we've called Connect that leverages lots of features that we want to add to the product. It allows us to remove some features that perhaps some of your deals don't want, such as removing chat is often a common request. It allows us to do that. And as Andy said, integrate to anything really that has an API. And there's a number of off-the-shelf APIs that will and integrations that we'll talk about in a minute. And there's bespoke development available as well.
So I guess the point is we've sort of positioned it all briefly, high level. You know, what is Connect? You've talked about the fact that it's based on the iPECS 1 API. But what's at the core of this? Why do we need this product in our portfolio, Ed?
So I think there's an increasing number of critical business services that are delivered by the cloud, whether it's communication tools, whether it's their CRMs, calendars, project management tools, billing and accounting software, and often integration into those with the telephony package is needed and is requested. And we're seeing a growing number of those requests. It makes everything more convenient to access all of your important tools in one place and to have that presence and availability across those tools. And that's how the conversation of Connect really came around.
So I guess it's all about what if you could access all of your desktop tools in one place.
Really. Exactly. Yeah.
I guess it's just a point to throw in here before we move on. We can see on our screen at this end that there's more and more people joining. If anybody's got any questions, stick them in the chat. What we won't do is we won't necessarily stop as we go through, but if we can get back to the questions at the end of the session.
Yeah, put them in the chat and we'll do sort of a question and answer session at the end.
So we've obviously talked about, you know, the core of this. It's about integrating to the customer's environment. So talk us through 2 of the core elements of this particular product, Ed.
So 2 of the key requests, and these have also been our 2 proof of concept sites. So we've been heavily involved in 2 large customer deployments.
That's quite a large number of users as well, right?
Yeah, the Microsoft one's about 225 users across multiple sites, and the Google one initially is about 100 users, but that's going to grow to several thousand as they roll it out across all their sites. So this started the conversation for Connect. So it was customers that want deep integration really into Microsoft and into Google because their businesses are run on those 2 platforms, and they didn't want to have several windows open on their laptops, on their PCs when they're working. So one was an existing Ericsson LG customer, one was a new, and they've come to us and said that we would really like, for example, if I talk about Google first, the Google G Suite integrated into our telephony platform. And what they mean by integration was they wanted the contacts to be seamlessly integrated. So they've got access to search and call all of their Google contacts through our client.
Right.
That works the other way. So if those Google contacts call into the business, they can see who they are because it matches a name to a record in a Google account. They wanted outbound click to dial, which is a fairly standard requirement. But more importantly, and the crucial one for both these opportunities, was they wanted calendar synchronization.
Okay.
So if I talk about the Microsoft opportunity, they were an accountancy firm. Again, multi-site, but all calls across the whole business were answered by a team of receptionists who then decide whether they're going to take that call, transfer it on, take a message, and so on. They needed to see real-time instant availability of all their staff across all the sites, and that's done by the calendar synchronization. So it's synced up to the Google or the Microsoft calendar. It passes presence directly through from that calendar. But what makes it quite clever is using some of the APIs available from Microsoft, we can set permissions to set your presence based on the different types of meeting that you might have in a Microsoft calendar. So those of you familiar with it, you will know that when you set a meeting in Outlook, you can have yourself as free, busy.
Like when we're working from home, you might just show it you're working from home, but you don't want people to think you're busy.
Exactly. So you put working from home in your calendar all day, but you'd mark it as free. So in that scenario, that wouldn't automatically turn your presence to busy. Other products they'd looked at couldn't use an API in that way. So you could put working from home in all day, it just show you as busy as all day. This won't do that. It will look at the meeting type to determine when you're really busy. And then what it will do is push that information to your colleagues. So when they're looking at you in the presence screen, they can hover over your extension, which you'll see as part of the demo, and they can see not only what type of meeting you're in, if you've shared that permission, and you have the ability to hide the type of meeting you're in if you don't want people to see that, which will show you. So it will show the type of meeting you're in, but it will also crucially show what time you're next available. So if you're
giving that extra level of detail into
exactly
right. Okay.
Exactly that. If you're in a meeting till 3 o'clock, it's going to show that Andy's available again at 3 o'clock. So you've got that instant ability to tell the person that you're speaking to on the other end who's available and when they'll next be available. And again, one thing that both these requests wanted is they use Microsoft and Google as a chat facility already. So they didn't want their telephony function to have a chat facility. Another thing they had to monitor. So using Connect, we were able to strip out chat from those two deployments. So they're using Google and Microsoft for chat, and they're using us for all the features that you see on screen.
And I know we'll get on to the what's required in terms of licensing, but I think it's fair to say with requirements like chat, we would want to sort of have that conversation with the partner at the point of placing the order with us, because it's there from day one. So if it needs to be switched off, we can do it, but they'd need to make the request at the back end.
Yeah, definitely. Part of the scoping out would be to say whether you want chat to remain or taken out. And I think, Andy, I've been involved in those two you just talked about, which were Google and Microsoft, but doing the job you do, you're involved in more project management based tools.
Yeah.
So you could probably cover the integration we can do there.
Yeah. So we've obviously talked about, the core issues integration. And I think, your slide on Google and Microsoft plus this one shows that the level of integration we've got today. So on top of Google and Microsoft, these are the three applications that are available as of launch, which was last week. So we've got, if I do the two on the right first, so we've got Asana, which is the project management tool that I use. So all of our new product introduction and all the other projects we do here as a business is run through Asana. And ClickUp is just another version of a project management tool. So that integration is available from day one. We don't have anything to do with licensing on that, by the way. So as long as the customer themselves has paid licenses on either one of those apps, they would simply click on the button, do the integration, log in, give permission, and then it's up and running.
We'll show everyone how easy that is when we do the demo.
And then Clockify is like a plugin for those tools. So I think when we were talking earlier on, I said, think about it like if I'm doing a project for you, and I need to monitor my time, and obviously because time equals money, Clockify is a plugin that you'd use in either one of those tools to enable you to do that tracking. So with Google and Microsoft, they're the five integrations we have today out of the box.
So out of the box, you've got Clockify, ClickUp, Asana, Google and Microsoft. There's others in development. So I think Monday.com's in development. HubSpot's in development as well. And I think there's one.
Zapier.
That's the one.
Zapier is an interesting one purely because think of it as like a piece of middleware for integration. So we integrate to Zapier, and then Zapier itself has a whole host of integrations it does out to the outside world. So all of those three are quite close. And I think one of the other things we should really point out on this is the development cycle is very speedy. From the work we were doing together prior to launch, there was a number of final elements we needed to get done on this product, and the turnaround time is very, very quick. So that's exactly how we want to manage this. But I think I know you're going to go on and talk about it, but it's not necessarily just about the out of the box stuff. It's about what else can we do with this product.
Exactly. I think there's wide opportunity with the product. So there's the stuff we've already covered. So the Google, the Microsoft, particularly the calendar integration, and the ones Andy covered. But using the API and using the development partner that we've got, we can essentially integrate into anything that has an API we can work with. So if you've got those opportunities where customers want something a little bit different, they're coming to talk to you about a bespoke CRM that they've had written for themselves. As long as there's an API that we have available, we can look at scoping out the work and providing the integration. So to give you a couple of examples of ones that we've got in movement at the moment. So one earlier this week, CoSoft joined me on a call with one of our partners and a customer. Again, they've got a CRM that's fairly bespoke to them, but they want some work done with call recording integration. So what we mean by that is, as well as the screen pop in and the click to dial from a CRM point of view, they want links to the call recordings put against the contact record in their CRM.
Yeah.
So if you're looking back at contact that you've had with a particular person in the CRM, there'll be links to all the call recordings your staff have had with those people, or with that person, I should say, and you can listen to the call recordings. And again, as long as the API documentation is there for the CRM, we're able to scope out work and quote for things like that. So to stress from a pricing point of view that we'll cover in a minute, the standard integrations that we've talked about are there and included as part of the price, and other standard integrations will be added, as we've mentioned, things like Zapier, things like Monday.com. But where we need to do bespoke work and quote for things like call recording integration and so on, or anything that might be a little bit more quirky, that will be scoped out, costed and quoted, and will go down as bespoke work.
Yeah. Okay. Didn't you have a nice cheesy thing you were going to say about that? Or shall I use my cheesy one? Or you're limited by your imagination? No, but I think it's a fair point, though. We've really got to stress to customers of ours on this call that we can't guarantee integrations, but like you said, as long as there's APIs available, we've got a really strong team of developers sitting behind this, and it really is like you're limited by your imagination in terms of like what do you want to do? How do you want to build this product?
It's a good point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it reminded me of something that we were supposed to say at this point. Is you might be thinking, well, we've got the CRM integration license for iPECS 1, which most of you will know is delivered by Mondigo and their integration, and now we've got this product. So where do the two fit in the portfolio, and why the two? So I think the CRM integration license from Mondigo will remain. There's a library of about 140, 150 CRMs they can work with, but it gives a very set list of things you can do with that. So it's predominantly click to dial, it's predominantly inbound screen popping, and for about 40 of those CRMs, there's activity logging now available as well. So it will log calls against a record. But that's as far as the CRM integration will go from Mondigo, which is fine for some opportunities. The reason for onboarding Connect are the reasons that we've said all through this presentation so far, is wanting to do more than those out the box things. So it's wanting to do things like the calendar integration, the call recording integration into the CRM record, and anything else that doesn't fit in that standard feature set that we get from Mondigo.
And I think the key point you probably just made there is that this is more than CRM as well. Mondigo is about CRM integration. This is much more about other desktop environments that might exist. So
yeah, that's a good point.
Good. So I think to sort of start drawing the initial story to the conclusion is, we've talked about what is Connect. We've talked about, how, what's at the core of it in terms of integrations and everything else. We've talked about the actual integrations, but what do you see from a sales point of view? When you're out talking to the guys and girls on this call, what are the sort of key benefits that you would position?
It's a good question. And the first one is really relevant. It's winning more sales. And since we've had this product in development and launched last week, absolutely winning more sales, I can see is going to happen, because we're saying yes to opportunities that a couple of months ago we'd have to turn down. So some of the meetings we've had so far, we just wouldn't have been able to do without a product like Connect. So this will definitely enable you to win more sales, which obviously in turn leads to increased revenue. It's a product that carries an additional charge, which we'll cover, but it can open us to do more and charge more and win more deals. And I think for the customer, it's important that improved productivity. So for the two large customers that we did heavy proof of concept in with, they both said that it improved productivity because they've got everything in that one window. It's all there, it's all available. It means they could get on with doing things quicker, and also providing better customer service. In that example I gave where calls are all fielded by a team of receptionists, if you've got the key information you need in front of you there and then, as you need it, you're going to give that customer a quicker and better service.
Sure.
And I think final thing is retain more customers. Again, the Google customer I mentioned in the example, they were an existing customer that came to us that said, unless you can do Google G Suite integration, we need to look for a product that can do it. We were able to turn it around quickly. Happy to say we retained the customer, and they're moving forward and rolling it out across more of their sites. So it was win-win.
Yeah, so it's fair to say we're really excited about this product.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So what do we need from a pricing point of view, a licensing point of view, to get this going and quoted?
Yeah, it's all pretty simple actually. For our customers, there's a license basically in the cloud portal. So like they would normally go and order iPECS 1, they would go and order Connect. There's a little bit of work we need to do in the background. So got the trade price here. So we're looking at $270 a month. But in terms of what we have to do at the back end, we would say expect around a 48-hour turnaround, purely because we have to generate an API key. So for the customer's tenant on the cloud platform, we have to generate an API key, and we have to talk to the guys out in Seoul for that. So there will potentially be a 48-hour turnaround.
And fair to say at that point, when you're ordering sort of 2 days prior to deployment or more, is to then at that point let us know if you want things like chat removed.
Yeah, 100%.
So that can be applied,
because the CodeSoft guys can be doing that in the background as part of the rollout. And then it's a simple case of get a URL and log in using your iPECS 1 credentials. I know we've probably made it sound really simple, but you've experienced setting it up as I have, and it really is that easy.
It's really quick to get in. You log in with your iPECS 1 credentials, as Andy said. And in my case, I was pairing up my Microsoft calendar with it. You log in with your Microsoft credentials and it's done, which we'll show you when we do the demo shortly. And just to reiterate the point we said earlier, that out the box, the integrations are Google, Microsoft, Asana, ClickUp, and Clockify. There's other standard integrations that will be added that will become part of the standard feature set. And then there'll be the bespoke integrations, which will be chargeable on a per case basis. And final point is you still get access to your 3 devices for iPECS 1. So you can still use your iPECS 1 mobile app. And if we move to the next slide, it nicely shows that it passes this calendar integration through to your iPECS 1 mobile app, but also if you've got a mixed environment. So if some of the staff are using Connect because they need the integration into, say, Google or Microsoft, but some of your other staff are not using it, they're just using iPECS 1, it will pass, as you can see from these screenshots, that calendar and that presence information through to iPECS 1. So our other staff here at Pragma that aren't using Connect and are just using iPECS 1, they can still see my availability, as you can see from the screenshots. So it's a really important point to add.
And I think it's a fair point to make on this as well, that there will be partners from a customers, should I say, sorry, from a continuity perspective, who want Connect everywhere. And just to sort of put on people's radars now that we are looking at a mobile client for this. We're trying to sort of look at the end of this year, beginning of 2024. There's obviously dev work that needs to be done on that, but that's definitely the ambition further down the line.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need that mixed environment if you didn't want to. You could have Connect across the board or iPECS 1 across the board.
Yeah, exactly. So what about resources? We've talked about all of the good stuff so far. What is it? What's the benefits? How do we order it? What's included? But what about in terms of helping these guys and girls get out there and drive some sales?
So Helen and Raf in our marketing team have done a really good job of putting the collateral together. So you can see at the bottom when the slides are shared with you, there's a link to a web page. Can't even speak. A web page. That's all about that's all about Connect. Then those of you that use the hub, there's going to be a page in the hub all about this, which would include things like a brochure, links to blog posts and PR that you can use, an HTML mailer if you wanted to mail out to existing customers or your whole customer base. And there's going to be plenty of social media content. So over on the right there's an example of one of the social media posts that we've created. You can rebrand these and use those as you wish on the various social channels.
And so you've got the image on the right, and then obviously there's an example of sort of the content in terms of the wording on the left hand side, right?
Good point. I totally missed that.
You knew that. So I think this is about time that we do a guided tour of. Bear with me, folks. Yep. Here we go. Right.
So
pretty sure everybody can see that because we've got the big red square around it from our.
Just going to minimise that bit there. So this is the Connect menu. You'll be familiar with the layout on the left-hand side, very, very similar to iPECS 1. As we said, it's using the API. So you've got the menu down the left-hand side, and you've got some further settings up in the top right-hand corner by, as you can see here, clicking on your icon there. So just to point out at this point, there is also, if you click on your icon at the top right, there's a link to documentation. I won't click on it now, but this takes you right through to a separate page, which includes all of the documentation to learn all about the product, user guides, and so on.
Yeah, getting set up, logging in, all the basics.
So it's important that
good.
all that's there, and it's there at the click of a link built in within the product.
Yeah.
But if we take you through the menu on the left-hand side, and then we'll come back to some of the settings in a minute. So you can see the view I'm on at the moment is colleagues. So this view is split into your recent colleagues here. These are the ones that you've recently interacted with, and call history at the bottom. The obvious bit being your missed calls are in red. Andy's got a lot of missed calls there.
I guess an obvious question that we might get is, why can we only see 3? How do I see more contacts?
So you can search at the top left hand here. You've got the search facility. So you can type in any name there, and that will bring you back the results. And this is searching, in your case, Andy, it's searching your Google contacts. It's searching the iPECS cloud directory, and it's searching your internal contacts as well. So it's searching across all of those. If you had Microsoft connected as well as I have, it would search the Microsoft contacts as well. So it's got access to all of those.
And I think a feature I like on this, obviously we just delete out what you was doing. You can obviously search by number, but if I was searching and it was a number that I'd never put into the, wasn't in the internal directory, 808,000, you can call directly from here as well, which I really like, because it means you haven't got to go to another tab. You've already started your search up here. Just click on call and you make the call out directly from here.
A lot quicker and easier. And to show you that calendar presence, if you hover over my icon here, you can see it's showing you that I'm busy. I'm sharing my full status, so it's showing the details of the meeting, and it's showing what time I'm next going to be available as well. So you've got that full presence of availability and details on the meeting. And just like you're used to with iPECS 1, you've got the person that you want to interact with here. You can select video, voice, you can chat if you have that facility in the product, and you can call externally to their numbers as well by clicking on the icon there. We won't spend too long dwelling on chat, but just to show you that there is a chat included. As we've said all through the presentation, chat can be removed. So for those customers of yours that want it removed, it can easily be done. But if you leave it in here, it's very similar to the other chats you'll be used to in all of the programs that you use to do that. If I just flick down to calendar now, so as you can see, we mentioned earlier that you can connect your Google and your Microsoft Calendar to this, and that's determined by the icon at the top right-hand corner. So you can see that, sorry, top left-hand corner.
Guess you forgot to put his test diary marker in for the webinar.
So we hope to have a Google and a Microsoft Calendar connected, but it's not a problem. You can see the Microsoft logo in the top left-hand corner. If it's a Google Calendar that's connected, you have the Google G Suite symbol, so you can determine which ones are in your Google and which are in your Microsoft Calendar.
And you can see, I think on the left, we can see the upcoming diary markers for the next 10 days.
Yes.
So you can see I've got a couple of G Suite Google Calendar bits in there. So
it shows the 2 in there.
Yeah.
And then before we go into applications and settings, I'll let you talk through projects because you use these tools.
Yeah, well, so I mean, as we've talked about, in terms of what's available out of the box. So I've also got Asana connected into this. The idea being it's giving you an overview, a summary. So you're not actually physically doing anything in Asana here, but you're bringing all of the key information that you probably need to see in Asana. So, for example, upcoming tasks. Bit of a naughty boy. I've got some overdue tasks here. Apparently, I've got nothing that should be delivered today, and then I've got some of my future tasks down here as well. So, gives you a good overview of what you're up to in Asana. But if, for example, I wanted to say, "Oh, what was that about?" Actually, it's picking up a really old one, which I've not deleted out of Asana, so that's a good example. But if I just click on it, it takes me through to my tasks view directly in Asana. So, and that would be the same for ClickUp.
So access everything in the one window, like we were saying. Yeah. And then if we scroll down to applications, this will show you the 5 integrations that are available out the box. Really easy to connect. So you see, if we look at Clockify there's just a simple blue button at the bottom that says connect. and all you do is you log in with your credentials for that relevant
Correct.
platform. So to connect Google and Microsoft, you log in with your standard credentials, and that will immediately connect your calendar, your presence, your contacts, and everything from that into Connect. It's a
Yeah.
really simple,
And
easy
I
thing to
think
do.
this is a good example though, because I mean, maybe not everybody would have as much as this, but because we work with some vendors who are Google houses, that's why I've got Google in there. Because if they're setting up video calls, for example, they're using Google Meet, so that's why I have that connected, not just so I can see my personal diary. And also we've got a partner we work with, Ransom Marketing. They use ClickUp, so I'm actually invited to that. So although I've not got any tasks assigned to me at the moment, I would actually see, like in that calendar view where you had Google and Microsoft, same thing in the projects view. I would see both ClickUp and Asana tasks appearing in there side by side.
So it shows the flexibility that you can have all of these different ones connected if you want to.
Absolutely.
And just to finish off with some of the settings, and a couple of these are important, is you've got your standard settings around devices and so on, which won't be anything new, I'm sure. But a couple of things to show you here. So presence, this is important to set on a per person basis. So you can turn on or off the ability to automatically change your presence when you're in a meeting. And again, based on customer feedback in the proof of concept stage, we've got two options here. You can have your presence set to busy or do not disturb, and you can select that as a rule. So it does it automatically. You don't have to change it every time. And the basis on that is that some customers want it to be busy because they still want the ability to receive important calls, albeit they will show as busy to their colleagues. Others said, no, if I'm busy, I'm busy. So I want to go into do not disturb. So no calls and no messages come through while I'm in that meeting. So you
it's good.
choose that on a per person basis. And some features that you will recognize from iPECS 1, because it does use the API. You've got the ability to turn on rejecting withheld number calls, anonymous calls. But a feature that we have,
First thing I enabled.
yeah, same, yeah. And you have got the ability, or sorry, we've had this request to have this turned on in iPECS 1, but it's not as easy. So again, using Connect, we've been able to add this as something you can disable or enable, which is call forwarding. So if a business owner doesn't want their staff to be able to forward calls, you can just disable it in the settings, and you can even give the user an individual choice to disable that setting or not. And I think there was something around notifications you were going to show.
Yeah, so the notifications thing is quite good. So everybody would have this padlock on the address bar up here. If you click on the padlock, it's where you give this particular product permissions through Chrome to use camera, use your microphone, which you'd need to if you're making calls, but also notifications. And providing notifications is on, you'll see this in here, and I can send a test notification, and we should see pop up down here, test notification from CoSoft Connect. So the whole idea of this is you're not always going to be working in the Connect tab. So if you're in another tab in your browser, or if you're in something else on your desktop, call comes in, chat message comes in, that's going to ping that little notification up in the bottom right hand corner. Excellent. So that's another sort of neat addition.
Yeah, important settings to turn on.
And I think one final thing on this before we stop sharing the screen is that we're constantly looking at ways that we can develop this. So I think there's two things I would say is, one, we would absolutely encourage feedback from all of our partners when they start getting some traction around this, because we have a scope for doing some really good work around development. And from our point of view as well, we're already looking at how we might be able to combine this with some of our other products. So, for example, if anybody's who's on the call is familiar with our PCI product, there's a portal that we provide as part of that product. So we're already looking at ways that we might be able to embed that portal into this product. So, you're getting even more value out of it, because it's not just about, Connect as a tool on its own. It's about bringing one of our other key products into that as well.
And that's a good point. That's probably the key point to finish on, as well as all the things it can do from day one. More integrations will be added. More features will be added, as Andy's just said. So it is a product that will continue to grow.
Yeah.
So that's probably enough of us talking and demoing. We just wanted to open it up to any questions, if anybody has any. Just looking at the chat.
Don't think we've got any questions
None so
at the
far.
moment.
So that either means we've done a terrible job or a really good job.